is Sky News Real Estate.
Welcome back. You're watching Sky News Real Estate. Your family is growing faster than you can imagine, and the time has come to upgrade to a bigger home. But it's not always economical to sell up and move on. Building a second story is often seen as a simple and affordable solution, but is it? Well, joining us in the studio now to tell us all about this, Robert Moorman, the Managing Director of Cape Cod, Australia. Robert, thank you so much for coming in. We have 1,000 questions for you, because it's often one of those big things that you say, well, should we? When is the right sort of situation to put on a second story?
Whenever the need arises. I mean, a lot of people buy homes initially when their family grows, and then all of a sudden they're running out of space. The kids are getting older. They're needing more study space. They've finally got some money to actually do some things that they want, but they love the area. So
it's a matter of going out or going up or going down, and going up is the...
Absolutely.
That would surely be one of the least expensive ways of expanding.
What's that?
Going up.
Absolutely. It is generally actually cheaper to go up than it is to go out. Because we can use the existing structure that's there. And it usually suits people have actually got their pools already in, they haven't got a lot of space.
The treasured roses, we're going to lose those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it manages to maintain that.
But of course, that going up gets you into the hideous red tape nightmare that we love called local council.
They're the ones.
It's just, is this something that if a person's considering a Cape Cod, we then go to someone like Cape Cod and go, you solve it, good luck?
That's the beauty of a business like ours. We take it right through the design, compliance and the build stage. So it's like a one-stop shop. Because really the whole area of building sort of breaks up into those three areas, which is the design, what do I want, how much have I got to spend? How can I manage to do this? And then there's the compliance stage, which can become
crushes your dreams.
Absolutely, and it really does vary from area to area. So whether you're sort of close to the coast, whether you're in a heritage area, whether you've got water issues, acoustic issues. I mean, it really the list goes on and on and on.
And the neighbours. I mean, what do you have to do to consider your neighbours?
You've got to love neighbours.
You do.
The views and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. So there's so many things to consider, and different people deal with that differently.
Do you have to have an existing pitch or anything, or does it not matter what shape your existing roof is?
None whatsoever.
Start afresh.
Look, Cape Cod, Australia. I mean, Cape Cod is a particular design, but very few steep pitch dormer type roofs are built anymore. It was pretty much a 70s thing. I mean, it's still a great design, but it possibly doesn't suit our environment quite so much. We really build what suits.
Looking at the pictures now, that's a Cape Cod conversion, but it's not, as you would imagine, a pitched roof sort of dormer window thing.
Exactly. So you can build whatever you like, dependent on your budget and your environment. So really.
Yeah, well, we're just going to ask you about budget. I mean, what are you looking at? Sort of minimum to, I mean, obviously the top end you can do whatever you like, but
Yeah, sure.
How much is that piece of string?
And really depends on your fixtures and fittings at the end of the day. I mean, if you're going to be putting in the gold taps or something fairly basic. And it really depends on space, because there are a certain amount of set costs that start in the whole design process. So it could vary from $2,000 a square metre to wherever you like to go with that.
Of course.
And being smaller doesn't necessarily make it cheaper, because you've got all those initial start-up costs that are involved. I mean, if you're going to have a 100 square metre extension or a 40 square metre extension, you still need one staircase. That just all factors in if you've got one bathroom, two bathrooms, road, all those sort of fittings.
So if one's thinking about doing an attic conversion, that seems like a crazy waste of money compared to actually getting a more usable space in a Cape Cod conversion. And there is a difference, isn't there?
Absolutely. There's a massive difference in that part.
I mean, do you ever come across situations where the existing structure can't take it, can't take the second level?
I never say never, but probably 95 to 98% of the time, it's really not an issue. I mean, because really, if you could imagine that you're actually bringing up a load and sharing it on that existing structure. So if that existing structure is sound, and we simply do a very simple structural engineer's inspection prior to the commencement of even the planning. So one of the first things we do once we've sort of established a design is to have an engineer have a look at it. But with our years of experience, we pretty much can pick that up very early in the piece.
It's a confidence thing. Well, you could reinforce a wee bit of steel girdering.
And lots of steel posts and a little bit of foundation work, but very few homes need a lot of extra work. It's normally those homes that have had an extension with an extension with an extension going out the back, and we try to sort of pull that all together. But yeah, it just can vary.
It's a big deal for the people in the house.
Massive, yeah.
Is it time to move back to mum's? Yes. While it's going on?
It really depends on how much work you're going to do downstairs in that part of the process, but probably, we build about 110 projects a year, and probably 75 to 80 of them stay in the home while we do the build. And particularly now with rental prices, people think, well, I'm going to rough it. We generally say, let's pack up. We're used to working with people in that environment. The excitement's there early, so they're looking forward to coming home, but by the time we're finished, they're looking forward to be over. But it's a fairly big impost, but it's worth...
pushing you out the door. It's been lovely goodbye now.
Yeah, exactly, but it's worth the end result.
How long can it take? I mean, what sort of minimum time you do it?
Let's say our average projects would probably be somewhere around 16 weeks. But it could go anything from, let's say, 10 weeks at the bottom end to 12 to 14 months. When you're getting into the very, very large projects.
Does that include the dramas with councils?
No, that's build.
This is just construction.
Generally, your design compliance stage takes longer than the actual build.
Right.
Okay, so
something to bear in mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, let's say, generally, would say to people, you're looking at about you ring today to start a design process. On average, it would be 12 months before you could turn the lights on and say it's completed. So.
Can I ask a really stupid question? So what's my
job?
What's more, I guess, a better approach? Do you raise the existing house and build in under, or do you build on the story on the top?
Build on the top. Back in sort of the 80s, there were a couple of people who tried that process. So it's doable, but it certainly, for us, doesn't make sense. So we can rebuild that.
For utilities and stuff, I would imagine it's easier to just...
Absolutely, yeah. So it all works well, just going straight up.
Really
So just some final tips, I guess.
Sure.
If someone is wanting to do this, how do they approach it? What are your sort of final, wrap it all together for us. What are your tips for building a second story?
Okay. I think to find somebody who's going to start you on that process that you feel confident with, because really you need to develop a relationship with whoever it is, because it is such a big thing. People sort of start to think about, if they try to take on too much themselves, then a trust relationship's really important to get the great end result. So have people that are good listeners, both from our perspective as the designers and builders, but also from a client's perspective to actually say, okay, we're happy to work with these people, trust, and then you start the process. But to be patient, we spend a lot of time, we talk about building on the desk before we actually come to the site, so that we can actually iron out a lot of the issues, because it's really easy to start something. It's really difficult to get it finished, and you don't want to be working on a home and not have those decisions made along the way. So we've got lots of checklists and a process that takes you through that. And most good builders would.
Build on the desk.
That's it. So because when you take a roof off, there's all these little things that can make a difference. And it's the difference between having a seamless and a feel-good build compared to something that's sort of tacked on the back.
Thank you so much for taking us through that. Fascinating. Thank you, Robert Mormaner from Cape Cod, Australia. Coming up